This is a story about a man called Simon. Simon was a very quiet man. He kept himself to himself, and even as a young boy he was socially inept. His self-solitude probably started when he was bullied at school for his lack of fashion. He once took PE in his gran's bloomers, which he thought he could have pulled it off, because his granny was a very small, slight woman, about 5 feet and about 6 stone. On him, the bloomers looked like cycling shorts. Just a pity they were pink with a lace trim, which provoked hurtful chants such as "Simon, Simon, you've got your granny's pants on," and "prick." As soon as Simon was of age, he left the school in the town he lived in. He moved to a place where no one knew him, where, alas, he could start afresh. His worldly possessions consisted of a broken Betamax video, a VHS copy of Cocoon, and 4 episodes of The Dukes of Hazzard, which he painstakingly recorded himself, as the button on his video was broken and he had to manually hold down the record button. A few years passed, and Simon was still lonely, living by himself in a dingy flat much like the one he grew up in. The only furniture he had was a small table and a wooden framed black and white TV, which had seen better days, and those days were the 1950s. Simon also suffered from flashbacks, and most nights he would have the one where he'd come home from school early to find his dad's hairy white sweaty ass pounding into his mum's cider-polluted pipe of doom. His dad would catch him watching, run over shouting "pervert," punch him in the guts, sending him to bed with an empty belly and a hard-on. It wasn't always sweetness and light for Simon. There was bad times too. The next morning, Simon was up bright and early to attend one of the many rallies he would fight the cause for. This one was a demonstration against the Chaplin moustache. When Chaplin fashioned it, it was fine because he was a well-loved entertainer, but then it was commandeered by a young man called Hitler, and he ruined it for everyone else. Probably the worst thing Hitler ever done. There were government officials there, and they sanctioned a national ban on the toothbrush moustache. So it's thanks to people like Simon that the only time you'll see that style of tuft is above a dirty lady's fanny crack. It was at this rally that Simon met Rose. Rose was an average looking girl, thin but not too skinny. She was half vegan, half normal. Simon himself wasn't a vegetarian, in the sense that he did eat meat. All that didn't matter, because after just 45 minutes he was smitten head over heels in love with Rose. Unbeknown to Simon, the gods of misfortune were about to wipe their mythical arses with his face. As he turned to help a disabled lesbian blow up a balloon, Rose ran off with a round-faced bald man with glasses, a face which a child at nursery could draw accurately. Simon was devastated. The only thing left for Simon to do now was go home and drown his sorrows. Just a pity he only had an old tea bag that had made a few trips to the sink already and back to his cup. It tasted less like tea and more like a social security envelope. As he drank his beverage, he looked out his second-floor cracked window and wished that Rose would leave the bald-headed charmer and find her way to his dingy flat, which he hadn't gave her the address to. But just then, a very large man looked up and shouted, "Who are you looking at?" Simon replied, "No one, sorry." "I'll fucking sorry you." The man ran up the stairs, kicked his door in and smashed the last of Simon's furniture over his back. Now once again Lady Luck shone a beam of ultraviolet pish into Simon's weary face. It was about 4 or even 2 months later an invitation came through his door, quite literally, because the door hadn't been fixed yet. And in a way, that door resembled the way Simon felt, badly beaten up with a rusty knob. The invitation was for a class reunion. This was it. This is Simon's chance to show everybody, especially those bullies, that he had made something of his life. 10 minutes later, Simon instantly thought about a £9 suit that he'd saw in a charity shop in the high street. He had to raise the cash somehow. Then it came to him. The only option left to Simon was to take his worldly goods, his Betamax video tapes, to Cash Generators. Cash Generators. Great name. That must have been some brainstorming session for the loan sharks, the vicious cunts. I hope they all fucking did. Anyway, back to Simon's plight of destruction. A short while later, Simon was there. He approached the counter of Lost Dreams with all his worldly goods in a half-ripped bin bag. He unveiled his treasures, and a collective laugh rang out among the blue-jumpered cocks of Satan. We can't take any of this. For a start, the Betamax video is only good for weightlifting, the Dukes of Hazzard is on UK Gold, and Cocoon, fuck, that's on every Sunday. Simon felt he was being mocked. Rage was building. Then Lucifer's servant asked, "Don't you have something like a guitar or a trumpet?" Simon shouted, "You're a trumpet!" and grabbed his stuff. He made for the door. In his haste, his shirt caught the handle. As he emerged on the other side, it was half ripped off his back. It was to get worse for Simon. The black bin bag burst and all his useless junk scattered on the pavement. Just then, a coach pulled up at the lights. It was everyone in his class reunion travelling to the venue. As he looked up, he could see tears of laughter running down the smug bastards' faces. The tears on Simon's were far from joyous. The chance had gone, the chance to show them the lucky white heather was no more than a jaggy twig in a tramp's underpants. Enough was enough. Simon was destroyed, and the next day he turned up missing. Some stories have happy endings. I'm afraid this is not one. Because that night, Simon used a pair of his granny's super stretchy concert tights to hang himself. He was found dead the next morning with multiple head wounds.